Hi, and welcome back to the Romantic Blues podcast for your romantic woes against your literature foes. I'm your host, and I have a terrible confession to make. I have second lead syndrome. I know. It's been a long, cruel battle for over a decade of having to watch, in pure agony, my favorite girl choosing the slimy, terribly mannered bully over the caring sweetheart just an arm's length away. And unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a cure, as many authors apparently don't want to write a likable male lead in romance anytime soon. Dramatization aside, if you don't know, second lead syndrome is common lingo within the romance community. Specifically, it's a term used within East Asian literature and media for when you prefer the second romantic male lead character to the male lead, who the female protagonist usually ends up with. He's often a character used to build up the tension towards the two main leads getting together, and is most prominent in love triangles. He's also the man, sadly at times, who the protagonist will never end up with, despite sometimes clearly being the more stable and loving option. The male lead is often the first romantic interest introduced and is usually the end goal. Though sometimes authors can do a bait and switch where the first lead is actually the second lead, but that can complicate things just a little bit for any newcomer. So instead, we'll just be focusing on second leads in general with the assumption that the second romantic interest introduced to us is a second lead. And to note, while I am using gender-specific terms here, this can occur vice versa. The appeal of the second lead usually comes from the fact that he's sweet, caring, and overall sometimes morally better than the male lead, which can lead to you wondering if you need to smack the protagonist over the head with a brick to get her brain on straight. I think the first time I had a visceral reaction to the male lead getting chosen over the second lead was through the 2015 Korean drama, She Was Pretty. The story focuses on main character Haejin, who was once considered very beautiful in her youth, turned ugly duckling with the reverse swan effect as an adult with cute curly hair and red cheeks we're supposed to consider ugly. I digress. Hijinks ensue as she tries to hide her identity from her childhood friend and first love, Sungjun, as now he's gone from ugly duckling to swan. And oh, did I mention that he's her boss now? He's also changed from sweetheart to cold and cynical, seen with how many times he humiliates her in the beginning of the drama. Such an example is when he openly mocks her unfortunate financial condition by making a show of pointing out her worn-out socks in front of an audience. A real jerk. And while he does get a redemption of sorts later in the season, even mellowing out to the point of being likable, I couldn't help but feel slightly upset that they would possibly get together after all that. Especially given he was once bullied for being considered fat and ugly. Wouldn't he know to treat others better? So it was no surprise that I jumped ship to Shinhook, the unfortunate second male lead. He's a co-worker of hers and the company's class clown with his over-the-top goofy personality with the unserious manner he holds himself to. While bordering on annoying, he's a person who not only sees her true beauty to begin with, but also never judged her or treated her differently due to her looks or lack of finances. In fact, he befriends her immediately, and their friendship was one of the cutest parts of the drama. Which made it all the sadder that she doesn't end up with him, but instead with Mr. Previously Jerkhead Grumpy Pants. This is often the scenario I, among many others, have come across, and hence why second lead syndrome is so dire. Though there are male leads who are likable along with the second lead, the appeal that comes with the second leads is character growth. As Andrea Lanes discusses in her article, How You Don't Get the Girl, Second Lead Syndrome, that in many of the dramas she's watched, the best character growth comes from the ones who don't get the girl. Quote, they mature significantly in pursuit of proving themselves and, after their losses, learn that there are different ways to adore a person, that romance wasn't the end-all be-all for what we know of love, end quote. Are you lonely? Yeah. Is a demon hiding under your bed not sufficient company? Yeah. Can't get any sleep with that overactive analyzing mind of yours? Oh my god, how did you know? Then consider getting DreamDemonBoyfriend.io, your very own monster boyfriend in Sleep State. Not only does he haunt you in real life, but also in your dreams. Gotta love that toxic monster boyfriend but he's so hot it's okay trope. Now you'll never be lonely or bored again. Just go to www.dreamdemonboyfriend.com to order now. Shipping taxes not included. Side effects include migraines from other loopholes, incomplete plot lines, and lovable toxic male lead traits, all in one package. Like mentioned earlier, second male leads are introduced into the story to create a love triangle between the protagonist and the male lead. Love triangles are usually used to build up tension between the potential couple till at least one partner takes action in the relationship. while this trope is popular, there can be problems if the male lead is less likable than the second lead, hence second lead syndrome. At times, like mentioned, this arises because he seems like the better romantic option. There's better romantic chemistry, and often, he just seems better than the male lead himself. He's almost perfect. Almost. While he looks alright on paper, he would make a terrible boyfriend. And not because he's a bad person, but for the sole reason that the female protagonist doesn't reciprocate his feelings. If you're active in the forums of the romance community, you'll see countless, if not the majority, of comments blaming the woman for any misgivings in a relationship. Because obviously she should just immediately forgive the guy who just sexually assaulted her a couple of chapters ago with his inadequate apology. I mean, how could she not? Can she not see that he's sorry with his handsome, emotionless face? Or that he's trying his best with his constipated communication skills? Doesn't she know that she's a girl? Whenever a male lead does something bad, you'll see at least one person come to his defense, no matter how terrible it was or his lack of conversation. It'll be conveniently explained away, yet the female lead is often held to a higher standard for some reason. To give the benefit of the doubt, maybe these are young children. Yet, I've heard the same complaints from adults older than me, so maybe not. This is especially true when I see people complain about her choosing the male lead over the second lead, yet they ignore the obvious. Which is, she's never had any romantic interest towards him, which also just makes him a bad option. Woman autonomy isn't even safe within literature, but instead aptly mirrors that of reality. The problem that lies within these tropes is the freedom of choice. She is pushed to make a choice, either or, black or white. And while there are rare few exceptions where she chooses neither potential partner, it's prevalent that she has to choose. Within male-centered worlds, he has an abundance of choices, but for women, she has to choose the very best. Even if both options seem to suck, which is a whole nother conversation. To bring it back to love triangles, a reason they're so popular lies within the appeal of being fought over by two handsome men. The desire to be desired is something universally common regardless of race or gender. And I actually love triangles. The love square is a particular favorite of mine, specifically when it's just two people with mistaken identities that lead to hilarious chaos, such as seen in Miraculous Ladybug. But more than that, second leads tend to be loved due to their maturation with their relationship with the female protagonist. They don't just mature through lost love, but also through putting someone else's wants and desires above their own. As Lane accounts, romance isn't the end goal, and instead, he is given an offer of friendship, quote, not as a consolation prize, but as something just as valuable as what a romantic relationship could have been, end quote. And this is the main takeaway I want you guys to keep in mind. It's easy to fall for the second lead with his endless abundance of charm and just slightly being better than the male lead at times. But as sweet as he is, romance comes with mutual love and respect, and that includes genuine, mutual feelings. And just being friends is no less valuable than being a potential boyfriend. Before we head out, thank you to the generous sponsors, me, myself, and I. All the resources and links will be in the description below. This show could not have been made without viewers like you. Thank you. Make sure to tune into next week's episode on the scandalously hot topic of monster boyfriends and their rise to popularity. With all that said, see you out and keep reading!